This episode of the Mad Rush Podcast.
A lot of the times when you're in college and you're a member of Greek life, you don't really realize how much of an impact being in a Greek organization will have on your life until after you've graduated. Now that I'm a career woman and, I own this company, looking back, so many of the women that I know now were or are AOPIs, and even if you weren't in the same Greek organization, just being in the Greek community, it's going to give you so many opportunities that you may not have ever had.
Welcome to the Mad Rush Podcast. I'm Trisha Addix, the original Sorority Rush consultant. While the stories I have to share are nothing short of astonishing, this podcast goes beyond the wild client tales and sorority life. I'll be engaging with fascinating guests from both within and outside the Greek world, uncovering the surprising connections that bind us all together. Join me for a journey that's as entertaining as it is enlightening. Welcome to Mad Rush. Y'all, I am so excited. My book, The Rush Bible, is available for pre-order from Simon & Schuster. It's coming out next May, but you can order it now, and it's going to be great for anyone who's considering going through Sorority Rush. This is the book for you. You can order it today. The link is in the show notes, and it's also on my Instagram at Rush with Confidence. And I can't wait to get this great information on how to crush Sorority Rush out to all of you. Anyway, thank you for listening, and I appreciate you. Hi, guys. I am excited for my guest today. Lauren Gooch is a business owner, and it's a hint sorority business, and mom and wife, and I have been wanting to connect with her for a long time, and so I'm so excited for what she has to say and for her being here. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So, Lauren, in a nutshell, can you tell me what you do?
Yes, so I own Curated Threads Greek. I'm a sorority and collegiate gifting business out of North Mississippi, and I pride myself on providing one-of-a-kind gifts for your Greek girls.
Oh, that's awesome. So, where did you go to school?
So I went to the University of Mississippi, Ole Miss, Hotty Toddy.
Hotty toddy. Were you in a sorority there?
I was an Alpha Omicron Pi, AOPI.
That's awesome. So one of my mentors, Kate, who was on my podcast, she was an AOPI, and she talked about her experience and how it wasn't her first choice. We were just talking about this before we started recording. It wasn't her first choice when she pledged, but it ended up being, and she's amazing. It ended up being the perfect fit for her, and she thrived and had a great experience. And that podcast was all about, sticking to, or not sticking to, but the power of the pivot and trusting that things happen for a reason, like we were just talking about.
Yep.
So, yeah. So, fun fact, Lauren and I ran into each other at Ole Miss Bid Day. So what were you doing there?
Yep. So, well, I was there because I was invited to do the AOPI parents party on bid day. So my company was set up at the bid day event, and parents could come and shop and pre-purchase gifts for their girls. And then I stayed for the after party where the girls could actually come and shop once the parents had left. So when we ran into each other, I was kind of bouncing around to the different houses before the party started, just to, relive some of those special memories. And, it was so much fun to just see the excitement, from the parents and the girls. And there's really nothing like an SEC bid day, much less an Ole Miss bid day.
I agree. So talk to me about this party. So when I saw you, I think I asked you that. I can't remember, which is why I asked you again. But I didn't know that. So explain like what bid day looked like at AOPI. Explain what the party situation. I don't think people know about this because I certainly didn't.
Parents parties or like bid day parties are kind of a new phenomenon, right? Pop-ups have really just started for Greek organizations, I feel like over the past few years. And one that's actually one of the things that my company Curated Threads Greek specializes in. We bring the ultimate shopping experience to the chapter. So in this case, it was for the parents on bid day. One of the things that we're seeing, especially at SEC schools, is so many of the students are coming from out of state, right?
Ah,
And the parents have no idea what to do on bid day. They're just that it's frantic. The daughters are like, "Oh, I went AOPI and here's where the parents party is." And so, they show up and they're like, "Oh my gosh, what do I do?" And gifting is such an important and a special part of bid day at SEC schools. We really want to be a resource for parents to be able to buy their daughters those special gifts right on the spot if they really don't have a clue.
which is often the case.
Yeah, so I came to Ole Miss from out of state. I'm from the West Coast and
Wait, where are you from?
Arizona.
Oh, I think I knew that. Okay.
Yeah. So, my mom had to learn so many things, and pop ups were totally not a thing when I was in school 15 years ago. So, being able to provide that experience and make it easy for the parents to pick out a one of a kind gift for their girls is really something that I pride myself in being able to provide for them.
So AOPI doesn't have a house there right now, correct? So where were you?
The parents' party was at the Oxford Conference Center.
Ah, okay.
Yeah.
Because so one of my favorite clients was there as we said for bid day, and one of my favorite clients pledged to AOPI, and it was in the Grove, which I thought was super special and cool.
Right.
But I didn't see you set up. So
Yeah, so what AOPI did this year is that once the girls received their bid, they ran to the circle, which is, part of the Grove essentially on campus, and then they were bused to the Oxford Conference Center where the parents had their party and then the girls had their after party.
so the parent party, how long did that last? And like was there food there? What was that like?
It was fast and furious. It was maybe an hour, hour and a half. And there was food and there was a little presentation just with the advisors talking about all of the new developments with the house, which is really, really exciting because as we know, the house at a SEC school is the first impression.
Yes.
I think that it's so important for parents to know what a lot of the dues will be allocated for. And I mean, how can you complain when you're a college student living in a beautiful house, on campus? So anyway, so they did a presentation and just kind of, went over what to expect as a parent, and then they had an opportunity to shop.
So that brings me, I'm actually going to do a post about this because a friend of mine went to a lunch the other day and then I saw her, we went for a walk and she said, "You have got to talk about so people who don't really understand Greek life and don't understand sororities, and I'm not talking about parents, but she said she was at a lunch, a Southern like grandma lunch, and she was talking about me and my book, and they were like, why would anybody want to pay for their friends? And she's like, you've got to address that. And I was like, I do address that in my book, but like, it's expensive to run. I mean, these are like mini companies, and you're doing house upkeep, and that's what your dues are. You're not paying for friends. It's sort of like saying that you're paying for friends if you're on an intramural team or on a debate team or anything. You have to pay to keep it functioning.
Right.
She was like, you have to address that. And I think I said I'm doing a post, but I'm kind of like, I don't know if I'm going to convince people who don't want to hear it.
Yeah, I think that's such a good point because, like I was saying earlier, so many of these girls that are coming in from out of state, a lot of them are first generation Greek. So their parents may be confused about like what exactly their money is being allocated towards. But I think once they step into these beautiful, multi-million dollar homes and they see, okay, there's 100 girls that live in here, they get 3 meals a day. I think that they start to have a much better understanding of, exactly what they're paying for. And it's not paying for friends. You're paying for your daughter to have ultimate experience and live in this beautiful place. And I think that's so important for parents to understand.
Yeah, exactly. And parents and people from the outside, but again, I don't know that it's going to be my hill to die on to try to convince people of that, but that's super cool. So then do the parents leave and then the girls, what do they do?
Yep. So the parents, after they shopped and, went to the presentation, most of them left and some of them did leave gifts for their daughters to pick up. So one of the things that was really fun at bid day this year is I actually had my mom with me, and
I met her, yeah.
she comes with me to a lot of the events, which is really fun. But she was helping kind of wrap some gifts and write the girls' names on them. So that way, when the girls started arriving on the buses, their moms would say, hey, stop by Lauren at Curated Threads, and there's a little happy for you to pick up. So, it really is it's a family affair, and it was so fun for my mom to be able to be a part of that day too. It was very nostalgic.
Oh, I bet. I bet. So my older son coaches basketball for middle schoolers, which, is completely different. But I go and watch the games because I just love to see him in action. And so I bet she loves to see that too. So where does she live?
My parents live in Phoenix, Arizona.
Oh, wow. So she came from Phoenix.
She did. She actually came and stayed with me for 2 weeks because we had an insane bid day schedule this year. And so she came with me to Ole Miss AOPI bid day, but she really came to help watch my daughter because I was at Arkansas bid day, OU bid day, and I was down at Mississippi State for a few days doing back to school events too. So she was my lifesaver in August.
Oh yeah. I mean, August, you and I should like go on a vacation in September, October, because August is, yeah. And if I had little kids, I don't know how you do it. That's so. When did you start Curated Threads Greek and why did you start it?
It was a early COVID days passion project. I was at home and my husband and I moved back to the South in 2018, and we started, kind of going back to all the Ole Miss football games and everything. And one of my favorite things to do is to go shopping on the square. If you've, ever spent any time in Oxford, the shopping is fantastic.
Oh yeah.
But one of the things that I noticed was that the Greek merchandise was literally the same as it was when I was in school 15 years ago. You could go to several of the boutiques and find the same sweatshirts, the same hats, it was all the same. So there was definitely this need or identified this need for some unique gifts. And it all started with a pair of earrings, just a handful of Greek licenses. And now it's evolved into an entire product line that I offer, and I offer it for 21 sororities, which is really cool. So that's how it started.
So I love how you say I identified this need because that is exactly how my business evolved or how I started my business. Oh, and I love that. I've never said that phrase and I just wrote it down because I think for being an entrepreneur, identifying a unique need is really what sets you apart. And I think that's really cool that you were able to see that just from being at Ole Miss and especially at a place where there is a lot of Greek merchandise, you were able to see, wait, this is missing.
Right. I think there was this whole, well, I guess to preface this, I love accessories, right? So Curated Threads, we don't do any apparel at all. We are an accessories based brand. But when you're walking around to all of these boutiques, none of them had accessories. None of them had like game day inspired accessories. And so we're not the brand that you're going to be able to find like your AOPI sweatshirt at. We're putting together beautiful curated looks for girls, whether it's a purse strap or a wristlet or beautiful scarf. We want our products to be unique and truly one of a kind that you're really not going to find anywhere else.
Yeah, that's super cool. I love the scarf. The scarf thing is awesome because you can wear it and you can wear it in your hair and you can put it on your, whatever. We don't need to go into all the things
Yeah.
that you can wear. Well, everyone, would you like to hear about how you can use a scarf?
Right.
But yeah, I love that. You said you were at Arkansas and you were at Ole Miss and you were at I don't know where else you just said, but are there regional difference in what sells for bid day? Like, do Southern schools want different things than not Southern schools?
Yeah, it's really interesting that you asked that. So we were at Arkansas, OU, and Ole Miss, obviously. And at Arkansas and OU, we were actually at three houses. So I had a whole team. So within a 24-hour period, we were set up with six different chapters. I would say Arkansas they definitely were a little bit more into sparkly than OU. OU was a little bit more understated. A lot of the girls at OU liked some of the jewelry that we had, whereas at Arkansas, we saw a lot more of like the sparkly sequin game day straps or sparkly sequin wristlets being sold. But one of the things that I think we do a really good job of is making sure that we also have merchandise for mom.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. So in addition to the Greek merchandise that we offer, I also make sure that we have an assortment of the collegiate merchandise because like we had talked about, a lot of these moms, they weren't Greek, they don't really know what to expect, and they're experiencing this whole Greek thing for the first time. And it's really fun to be able to help mom put together a look for herself too, so she needs a game day strap for the Razorbacks or whatever it might be. We can help mom out with that too.
And that is such a thing. And I've done a couple podcasts about that. But I have a friend who she's about your age. She's the daughter of this guy that worked with my husband. And she was from New Jersey. And she and some friends went to LSU just for a game day. And she said she got off the plane, went into, is it Death Valley at LSU? I think it is. Anyway, she gets to Death Valley. They're wearing black jeans that are ripped and like leather jackets. And she was like, oh, what have I stepped into? And so now she's a mom, but I can imagine that, fast forward, 13 years from now, she would, if she didn't know, she would get off the plane and she would be like, oh, I got to buy some of this stuff so that I
Right.
don't look like a fish out of water. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's super cool that you do that.
A lot of the moms, they need help and they need that guidance. Like one of my favorite stories is, so for the past few years I've done the Alpha Phi Ole Miss Parents Weekend, and it's always in September. And I can't tell you the number of freshman moms who are visiting their girls for the first time for a game weekend. They come up and they're like, help, I need it all. They're like, I had no idea, I need the clear bag, I need the strap, I need this. And then, and their daughter is, meanwhile picking out some Alpha Phi merch. But, being able to help mom and take some of that stress off is something that's really fun and exciting to me. And it really helps fulfill, my goal with Curated Threads. And that's to create a really unique and special shopping experience.
Yeah, and that's also such a cool thing because the parent relationships. So Katie Keogh, who's been on this podcast a couple times, she is from the Chicago area, maybe even Chicago, and her daughter goes to TCU. And she's like, wait, you've got to like dress the part. And she talks about it was parents weekend for her daughter. I think it was this last weekend. I'm sorry, it was dad's weekend. And she's like giving instructions to her husband. You got to meet the freshman and sophomore dads. You don't want to make friends with the senior dads. But it becomes, like you said, a whole family affair
It is.
for families. And it's such a cool experience. I've said before, my parents dropped me off at Georgia and they're like, bye. I came home for Thanksgiving, came home for Christmas, and then I came home for summer. But it was not a thing for the parents and the families to come. It was not a family affair. And then both my parents were Greek, but they were at Emory University, so that's a whole different ball game. But they would have not known. They would have, even being Greek, would have had no idea. So there are certain schools where bid day gifts aren't a thing, but like Georgia for one, that's not really a thing. But for the schools that it is, and so if you're listening and your daughter's going to a college, you can figure out if it's a thing by following the Panhellenic of the school and, the sororities, that kind of stuff. But so what at the schools where it's a thing, what makes the bid day shopping experience so cool? Like how do you curate these gifts? Using your company title, Curate.
That's a really great question. I would say honestly, the process starts at least a year ahead of time. One of the really cool things that I do in addition to designing and manufacturing my own Greek merchandise is I partner with several other Greek vendors. So I partner with a jeweler out of San Antonio. I partner with the scarf company that you had mentioned, and a really cool bag company out of Texas. And so I can start pulling together, all of these different looks and all of these different packages. And my company is still small enough to where, if you're a mom and you really have no idea, you can message me and you can tell me what your daughter's style is. You can tell me your budget, and I'll pull something together that's truly one of a kind, that is going to be tailored just for her, that no one else will be able to offer.
Oh, that's super cool. That's a great idea. So here's the question. So if they don't know what sorority their daughter is pledging, or not, this isn't even a question, this is an observation. If you don't know what sorority your daughter's gonna pledge, for me, I'm such a worrier. Like I would not want to plan ahead of time because I'd be like, oh, I'm so nervous that she's not gonna get a sorority, she's not gonna be happy or whatever. And again, y'all, this is just me. Like I didn't paint my kids' nurseries till they were 8 months old. Until I was 8 months pregnant. Like, it's just, I don't want to jinx it, but that's me, not y'all. Um, but I love that you are able to pull that together for them while they're there, just because for me, like, I would have been like, oh, I'm not buying anything ahead of time or, anything. So that's super cool. So why do you think it's so, and you may not have an answer for this, but why do you think girls want to sport their Greek letters? Like, is it a pride thing? Is it just wanting to show that they, belong? Or what do you think that is?
I think that it's just to show your spirit of sisterhood. One of the things that I was thinking about earlier is that when you're in the thick of school, you only have 4 years, and it goes by so fast. And I feel like a lot of the times when you're in college and you're a member of Greek life, you don't really realize how much of an impact being in a Greek organization will have on your life until after you've graduated. One of the things that has really helped my business is just having a network of women who are also small business owners. And now, like, for example, I wear my little AOPI bracelet almost every day, and I'm proud to wear it just because of the opportunities that being a member of a Greek organization has afforded me. I never realized how important it would be. Now that I'm a career woman and I own this company, looking back, so many of the women that I know now were or are AOPIs. And even if you weren't in the same Greek organization, just being in the Greek community, it's going to give you so many opportunities that you may not have ever had.
That is such a great point. The older I get, the more I'm like, wow. Like, I reach out to Kayos that I don't know, and they're like, how can I help you? And it is such a great network for after college, which is one of the reasons that I think that it's so important to remain involved in Greek life. And I do know that that tapers off sometimes. Junior and senior year, you're like sick of the meetings, you're sick of the stuff. But getting involved after college is also super cool and important. And that's such a supportive network.
When you mentioned Dad's Weekend, so there's a brand that they're based out of Oxford and they own a men's belt and apparel line. Well, I don't do any men's apparel at all, but I do occasionally do some Dad's Weekends down in Oxford. And, being that AOPI and her husband own it, I reached out to her and I was like, hey, do you have any pieces that, I can take to this event so that way the dads have something?
Oh, that's awesome.
If I wouldn't have had that connection with her being an AOPI in the class below me, I would have never been able to offer something for the dads to shop, for that event. So it's just the little things like that you don't necessarily think of when you're maybe in college, but afterwards it's an experience that you're not going to be able to buy. You know what I mean? Like it's just those bonds will last a lifetime.
Yes, and that is so true. And I think the theme, shockingly, here is connections and just how important this is and how much of a life-changing thing being in a Greek organization is. And it's such a positive experience. And it comes from bid day all the way through forever, So I think it's really cool what you've done, and the holidays are coming up. Let's tell people how to find you. I think that, correct me if I'm wrong, if someone DMs you and is like, what's a great gift I can give my daughter for Christmas? Can you help them with that?
Absolutely. Yes. Please message me.
So tell people how to find you.
So you can shop my website, which is curatedthreads.com, if you kind of already have an idea of what your daughter wants. But if you are a mom or a parent who doesn't have a clue, send me a DM on Instagram. My handle is curatedthreadsgreek. I'll ask you some questions about your daughter and, kind of her style, and I'll gift wrap it for you and send it straight to her or straight to your house. And I promise she's guaranteed to love it.
Oh, that's so awesome. Like you just handle all of it. And that is y'all, that is something that your daughter will love. If she's coming home, she just pledged a sorority, having a unique gift that she can go back with that's super cool. So awesome. Thank you so much for being here. You're amazing. And I can't wait to keep in touch. And hopefully I'll see you before next bid day.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
So as we head into the holidays, I'm taking a break from Time Out with Trisha podcast segments. In the meantime, please follow me on Instagram at Rush with Confidence, where I'll continue sharing tips and information to keep you inspired. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Mad Rush podcast. If you are enjoying this podcast, please consider leaving us a 5-star review. For additional Rush tips, updates, and more, please follow me on Instagram at Rush with Confidence. If you would like to reach out to us or for more information, please email info@madrushpod.com. This podcast is produced by Collier Landry and Don't Touch My Radio. Copyright Trisha Adams.